Hi, welcome to the Yarn and Yarns YouTube channel. My name is Angela and all of the places you can find me should be linked in the description box just below this video. I'm most active over on Instagram, where you'll find me as both Rainbow Ange and Yarn and Yarns. Here on the channel, if you have popped by before, you will know that you'll find me chatting about my adventures in knitting and spinning and crochet. And if you have joined me before, then a very big welcome back. Hopefully you know by now I really do appreciate the time that we get to spend together. And of course, if you are new here, then I really appreciate you taking some time out of your day to pop by and see what's happening here in my little corner on YouTube, and I hope that you find something to enjoy. Here on the channel, you'll most often find me chatting about my adventures in knitting and spinning and crochet. And I have all of those segments for you this week. I have a spinning finished object, a crochet work in progress, and for knitting I have one finished object and a few works in progress to share with you this week. But before I get on to those segments, I just want to say a very big thank you to, well, first off, all of you for all of the lovely comments that you left on my last video, and just for watching the last video, even if you didn't comment. I mentioned that my health, both physical and mental, had not been in the best place over the preceding few weeks, and I had lots of nice comments, and it really did give me a boost to know that I've got lots of people out there sort of rooting for me and supporting me. It does mean a lot. I know that sounds like a bit trite and cheesy, but it does. Yeah, I'm starting to feel much better. My physical health is much better, touch wood and all that, and with that my mental health is improving slightly. I've got a little bit of a way to go with regards to that, but yeah, that's always a bit of a cycle for me. And I have coping mechanisms in place when I do have periods that are difficult, so yeah, I'm getting there. And on top of that, this week I have had a couple of just completely wonderful experiences, and some really kind gestures have been thrown my way. So before I get on to my making, I would like to showcase some making of other wonderful people in our community. Last Tuesday, the day I recorded the last video, I got to spend the whole day with my lovely friend Mandy, who is Solo Knitter over on Instagram. Hi Mandy, if you are watching. Mandy and I have kind of known each other through YouTube and Instagram for a little while, and we had the opportunity to meet up back in March or April, whenever Wonderwall was this year, and we were able to meet up at the show and spend just a brief amount of time together. But since then we've been in touch on and off, and Mandy said that she would like to come down and visit for the day. So yeah, I was really excited about that, and she came and sat in the shop, and we chat and we knitted, and just had a really wonderful day. And on top of the wonderfulness of just spending time with another sort of like-minded crafty person, Mandy was so generous and had bought me some gifts. And the first one I'm wearing, can you believe it? I was gifted a sweater. Oh, my hair looks a bit crazy when I do that. Doesn't really matter. We're here for the sweater. I can't believe that she was so generous as to give me a hand knit garment. I know and appreciate how much work goes into something like this, and this sweater is truly spectacular. I'll pop in a picture of me wearing the sweater, where hopefully you can see it in its full glory. Hopefully that worked and you got to see the full shot of the sweater. I know this is the Sigrun pattern by Jennifer Steingast, which she's Knit Love Wool, I think, over on Instagram. And I have a couple of Jennifer's patterns in my library, and I've never got round to knitting one. I don't own this particular pattern. But yeah, it's just, yeah, it's gorgeous. It fits me like a glove. The colours are beautiful. It's so lovely and cosy and warm. This week the weather here has been we're definitely getting autumnal, but it's getting a bit more nippy, but not totally cool yet. So I've had a few days where I've actually worn this as an overlayer, so almost like a coat, and it's been perfect. It's just keeping me so nice and cozy. So yeah, very, very special, and I'm so grateful to have received this. It's like having a great big warm hug from Mandy every time I put this on. So yeah, truly special. Thank you so much, Mandy. Yeah, I just don't really have the words. Not only did Mandy give me this beautiful sweater, she also gifted me a gorgeous skein of yarn. Ah, look at that, isn't that fabulous? This is the Harvest Hues range from John Arbon. It's a blend of Falkland Merino, Swarbles, don't know how you say that, Zwartballs. So 65 merino, 35 zwart balls. And this is the Bracken colourway. It's a fingering weight yarn. Absolutely gorgeous. Completely in my colour wheelhouse. Love it. And yeah, can't wait to come up with the special project to knit this into. It's probably going to ruminate in my stash for a while until I come up with the perfect thing. But Mandy also gifted me this lovely Little Drops of Wonderful pin. If you don't watch the Little Drops of Wonderful podcast, then you should hop over and check it out. It's a really lovely one. So the pin's like a really fun sort of sparkly raindrop, which is fab. And Mandy also gifted me a bag, but the bag is housing a one of my works in progress, so I'll show you that later. It was just a wonderful day, and to receive some beautiful gifts on top of just being able to spend some time together was, yeah, it was perfect. So thank you so much, Mandy. And not only did I get the pleasure of Mandy's company and also some very, very wonderful gifts from her, a couple of days later I was sat in the shop and a parcel arrived, and I was sat there sort of wondering, I haven't ordered anything. Was very confused. Opened up the package, and I had been sent two beautiful crocheted projects by the lovely Kim, who is Blue Cherub 82. And Kim has a wonderful channel here on YouTube. She is a crocheter extraordinaire, and through the month of September, Kim every day was trying to work on some Sharon Ayala patterns, and she gifted me two of the makes that she had completed during her September. So first off, this absolutely really adorable, fun, cute, grumpy pumpkin. Yeah, I love his expression, his cute little nose. So yeah, he's going to look beautiful, and I think he'll probably become part of my Halloween sort of autumnal window display in the shop for a little while, and then he'll come home and decorate my mantelpiece. So that's Grumpy Pumpkin. And on top of that, she also made me Art the Moose. Isn't he just the cutest? So yeah, if you look back through my back catalogue of episodes here, I think there's an episode entitled I Love Moose or something like that, where I go on and on and on, more than a person should, about how stinking adorable these animals are. And I know, like, in the wild they're big powerful creatures and they can be a bit of a pain in inhabited areas, but hey, that's our fault, isn't it, for inhabiting their land. And but I just adore them. And yeah, Kim remembered that episode and crocheted me up Art the Moose. I have actually renamed him. He's now called Mervyn. I hope you don't mind, Kim. And yeah, he's just wonderful. I don't know what else to say. I'm just going to pose for hopefully the screenshot for this video, showcasing my beautiful jumper and my two amigurumis. So thank you so much to those wonderful ladies. I know the knitting and crochet community has had lots of ups and downs, and there's plenty for us as a community to work on to make people feel included, but there are many wonderful, generous people out there, and I'm so glad that I can count many of them amongst my friends here. I think it's time to show you what I have been doing this week. I'm going to start with spinning this week. I have just one spinning project to show you this week, and I have finished a skein of yarn. Look at this. So I have mentioned this on a couple of episodes previously. The fibre was some Ashford Sliver in the poppy seed colourway, a mix of merino, New Zealand merino and silk. And this was gifted to me by my lovely friend Tracy when we went to visit New Zealand last year. I was really starting out on my spinning journey and getting much more into drop spindling. Tracy worked at a craft store in New Zealand where she lived in Christchurch, and we stayed with her for a few days, and she came home from work one day with 3 beautiful colourways of this Ashford fibre. So if you remember, I started spinning this on my wheel, but my wheel and the fibre just didn't really want to play ball. I managed to spin half of the fibre, and then I just got so frustrated and I was losing a lot of the fibre. So I just decided to spin the second half on my drop spindle. So this is probably a great big spinner's no-no because I haven't consistently spun the fibre, half of it on my spindle, half of it on my wheel. But I have a skein of yarn that is finished, and oh, I tell you, if you could feel this, it's so soft and beautiful. The colours are really lovely and subtle. The base of this is really the charcoal grey. The light streaks that you can see, I think, are the silk, and then peppered through are these beautiful sort of deep red, maroony, burgundy reds that go through the yarn here and there, and I'm really pleased. I mean, there are some inconsistencies in the yarn. I think most of the inconsistencies came from the struggles that I had spinning the first half on the wheel, but there are some really beautiful parts of the yarn, and I think I haven't yet measured it. I have washed this, but I think I will have enough to knit the Storm Shawl by Joji Locatelli. Fingers crossed, as I say, I haven't done the final measurement. But yes, my plan was to spin a fingering weight. I've just done a traditional 2-ply, and yeah, I really want this yarn to be for that shawl. So keep your fingers crossed for me. I'm going to measure it a little bit later, and yeah, hopefully I can start a beautiful shawl from this lovely yarn. I already have the shawl pattern in my library. Thank you to my generous friend Erin, who gifted the pattern to me a couple of weeks ago. I was having a difficult day and all of a sudden a pattern popped up in my Ravelry box. So yeah, completely thrilled to hopefully have the yarn ready for that shawl. For crochet this week, I just have one work in progress to show you. It's a work in progress you've seen before. After finishing 2 crochet projects last week, I tried to start a new crochet project, and I picked up a few different things, started them, ripped them out. Nothing was really kind of calling to me. So I decided just to fall back on an old friend of mine, and that is my scrappy granny stripe blanket, which I started quite a while ago, but yeah, I'm just using up lots of fingering weight 4-ply sort of sock yarns and scraps, and you can see my sort of teapot marker here. This was where the blanket was when I last showed you, so I've put quite a lot of work into this week. It's a very long blanket. It should fit over a double bed. Yeah, so as you can see, the rows are really long, and I'm just plugging away at it. There's no rhyme or reason to this blanket. I'm just picking up scraps as and when. I'm working my way through this big magic knot ball that I've made, and I'm hoping to get this done soon, because in my basket where I'm keeping this project, I have some beautiful minis that were sent to me by the lovely LubyLou69 on Instagram. Lou, hi Lou. and I really want to get these I want to get to the point where I can add those to the blanket. So yeah, I'm motivated to work on this at the moment, and because it's getting chillier in the evenings, having the blanket on top of me is a nice comfort and keeping me a little bit warm. So yeah, it's a good time of year to start working on those projects again. So yeah, that's my granny stripe. The pattern is by Attic24. It's a free pattern over on her blog. I'm crocheting mine up on a 3.5mm hook. And as I say, there's no rhyme or reason. I'm just grabbing scraps and adding them to the blanket. Finally, on to knitting. I am going to show my finished object first. This pattern was also gifted to me by Lou, who I was just chatting about. I was kind of gifted this for my birthday back in August, and it's the mystery gnome along, Oh Gnome You Didn't, by Imagine Landscapes. So I'm chatting a lot about this to give anyone who may be participating in the knit along who hasn't finished their gnome and doesn't want to be spoiled time to sort of press pause and maybe skip ahead a few minutes. If I remember, I'll pop a timestamp just below this to where I start talking about my works in progress. So if you don't want to be spoiled on the gnome, you can look away now. But if you are either participating and have finished, or aren't participating and aren't really worried, I am going to flash you my finished gnome. So here she is. Sarah Shearer is Imagine Landscapes, and I think she's called this gnome Nelly. And this one is quite a different style to a lot of the other gnomes that she has had in terms of the hat. So we've got this really fun kind of almost like a jester sort of style hat with these 3 spikes, she calls them, and then this cute little gnome has some pockets on her body, and instead of a beard, which all of the other gnomes have had, she's decorated with a scarf. So yeah, this was a really fun make. As always, I've used my hand spun yarn, little bits and pieces, that little samples that I've spun up to make Nelly. The hat was the first thing that I made, and this was a yarn that I spun up quite recently. It's from that from Woolly Knit, one of the samples that I've been spinning, and it's this beautiful, it kind of reads as a purple grey, but there's really some nice flecks of green and some pinks. It's a really complex colour, and I wish I could get hold of more of it because it's really beautiful. But I managed to use the majority of the little sample that I did have in the hat for Nelly. And the hat's finished off with a few tassels. I decided to add some beads as well. My hand spun yarn was quite fine. I knit away a combination of 2.25 and 2.5mm needles, but the spikes on the hat were sort of quite stiff and standing up. So I decided to weight them a little bit with these beads. They're not too heavy, they're just plastic beads that I had in my stash, but I put them on along with the tassels, and they're sort of helping to weight down these spikes and give this sort of like fun droopy look to the hat. Then the body is from another sample from Woolly Knit. I actually had this one all balled up and ready as I used it to cast off my Helix shawl, that project here. So you might remember this from a couple of episodes ago. This is the Helix, and I used that colour just to put that final picot bind off, but I still have plenty left. So I decided that it would be fun to pair this with the hat colour because this one also has lots of green in it. So this one is like sort of purpley grey with flecks of green, and this one is more of a sort of pinky purpley colour with flecks of green. So I thought that combination looked quite nice together. Obviously the little pockets on the front are from the same colour as the hat, and then you introduced a new colour for the accessories, and I had this bright green yarn that I'd spun a while ago. Actually, I think I used this, yeah, I'm pretty sure I used this in the last mystery gnome. This yarn is a singles base, so I was trying to spin for the mystery gnome last time, and at the time my spinning was still quite thick. I'm averaging out at a sort of DK worsted, and I wanted to spin for 4 ply, so I figured I would just spin singles for that gnome. And I had quite a lot of this green left, so I decided it would be the perfect sort of pop of colour, keeping with the green theme, for the tassels and the scarf. So yeah, this one's biasing quite a lot. I'm not sure if it's because of the dodgy spin or just because it's a really sort of thin scarf. As you can see, the spin on this singles was pretty appalling, really. It's very lumpy bumpy, it's not very neat at all, but I think for the purposes of this project it's great. And it adds a really nice kind of pop of colour to Nelly. On to works in progress. I'm going to show you 4 works in progress briefly. A couple are new projects and a couple you will have seen before. The first project is a new one. It's living in the bag that Mandy gifted to me. It's this really nice sturdy canvas drawstring bag. I think I am going to eventually decorate this in some way or another, but for now I'm just using it to house a new cast on. If you watched my Diary of a Yarn Shop Owner video, you will remember me mentioning this book, and inside the book I was very enamoured with this tasseled wall hanging. So I've started my own. For this one I'm using the Rowan hand knit cotton as suggested in the pattern, but in different colours. But I just want to give a big shout out to Vicky, who left a brilliant comment on that video, suggesting that this wall hanging would be perfect in hand spun yarn, and that is a genius idea. So the hanging that I'm making now will be a sample that will hang up in the shop, and then I think I'm going to raid my hand spun stash and come up with something for the wall behind me. I've picked out 3 shades of the hand knit cotton. So I've got this deep purple, the medium sort of purple, and then I'm going to go to the brown at the top. And so far I have finished the first colour. It knit up quite quickly. So as you can see, it's a fun mix of garter stitch. There's a few purl rows chucked in. There's also some bobbles and some eyelets. So yeah, looking a bit sort of underwear like at the moment. But obviously that will change once we get the tassels on. Well, I don't know what kind of underwear you wear, but maybe it'll still look like underwear to you. I certainly don't have anything tassely. Maybe I should change that. Okay, getting into the realms of silliness, back to the knitting. So yeah, first colour is finished, so I am ready to move on to the second, which is this sort of medium mauvey purple. This section didn't take very long at all, so with a bit of luck that project will be on and off the needles fairly quickly. The book, just to remind you, is from Jem Weston, and it's the Cozy Alpaca Knits. Yeah, that's just a really fun one that I'm hoping to whiz through and have a nice sample for hanging up in the shop. Might as well follow through with my next new cast on that you haven't seen. I have finally started the cardigan that James wants me to knit him. Loosely I'm aiming to have this done by Christmas, but we'll see. So he picked out the pattern, and it's the Dude sweater by Andrea Rangel. And I bought the pattern, I ordered the yarn, and then I realised that the whole darn sweater is knit in 1x1 rib. So I've been procrastinating, and I've been putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. Finally, I'm at crunch time. I needed to cast this thing on, and it's actually a reasonably quick knit. I can't knit on it for too long because my hands start to ache with the motion of like switching backwards and forwards for the 1x1 rib all the time. But on the plus side, it does grow quite quickly. So here is my progress so far. Can't see what I'm showing you, but hopefully that's kind of in the centre of the camera there. As you can see, this pattern also has sections of colour work, which is a bit of a pain in 1x1 rib. The back of my colour work is a right old mess. I will show that to you. How scruffy is that? But at this point I really don't care. It's going to be knit come what may. I'm going up a needle size for that colour work. Obviously 1x1 is really stretchy, so I wanted to make sure that I maintained that kind of stretchability through those colour work sections. I'm about to start a really big colourwork section next, which is why this has kind of been on hold for a few days. I need to go to the print shop to get the chart printed in a bit of a larger size so that I can follow it, because it's not a regular motif like this. So I'm going to need to be concentrating and counting properly. So I want a decent sized chart so that I'm not straining my eyes and going wrong all the time. So yeah, that is my progress on the dude. Putting that in the wall suggested in the pattern, which is Cascade Eco. Comes in like giant balls. These were a bit of a pain to wind up, but I did it. I just needed to plug away and work on that and see how we go. My next work in progress was also on my September goals list, and I'm going to chat a little bit about that before I disappear at the end of this video. This is one of two things that were on my goals list that didn't get achieved, but that's okay. This is my Canady shawl. It's a pattern by Bristol Ivy from the Knitting Outside the Box book, which is a publication by Pom Pom Press. There is a new Knitting Outside of the Box due to be released in the next couple of weeks. It's a much smaller publication, I think. There are fewer patterns. This is a gorgeous book, and this project's been on the go for a little while. It's just keeps getting put on the back burner, but I'm almost on the home straight now. It's going to be a complete pain to show you because I am knitting. The project's knit in sections, and I've kind of knit I've knit two sides in the bottom, and I'm left with a big sort of triangular space at the top, and I am knitting across and joining both sides as I go. So at the moment I can't stretch this out because my rows are short rows, they're not complete rows. So I'm working on this orange section at the moment, which is the biggest section of the shawl. Down here is where this project was when I showed you it last. So I've knit a good way up this project this week. I still have some way to go. And you might remember that I'm using a whole bunch of Rowan felted tweed colours for this. The project is the one on the front cover here, so as you can see it was all knit in one colour in the original sample, but because of the modular nature I figured it would be a good one just to have a play with, do a bit of colour play, so that is what I did. Yeah, so I've got the rest of this section to do, then there's a tiny little section in the corner, and then I have to go all the way around the edge with an I-cord, I think. So yeah, definitely on the home straight, just plugging away now, and hopefully that one will get finished in the not too distant future. And my final work in progress is my Mount Pleasant. I didn't actually mention the cows at the beginning of this video, which I probably should have. So over on our Ravelry group, I am hosting two knit-alongs, make-alongs. The first is in conjunction with Ellie of Curio Yarns, and we are both knitting along on a Mount Pleasant top, which is a pattern by Megan Nodecker, who is Pip and Pin. You have to work on this exact pattern if you don't want to. Any fingering weight t-shirt, short sleeve sweater will fit for this cowl. I have got to the point where I have split for the front and back. This is a bit tricky to show you because it's sort of flopping everywhere, but here is my progress. The rainbow marker here, which oops, wrong way around. There we go. The rainbow stitch marker shows where I was last time I showed you, and I purchased that from the lovely Caroline, who is Colourful Creativity. And so yeah, since I last showed this, I knit the rest of the body in the round, and now I have split for the front and back. I'm working on the front at the moment. So yeah, I'm just knitting backwards and forwards now on the front. So making some decent progress on this project. I'm alternating skeins, and this is Ellie's hand-dyed yarn, so Curio Yarns, in the Druids colourway on her 4-ply base. So yeah, not too much to say about that. Just backwards and forwards in stocking it now for another couple of inches until I start for the next shaping. The cowl started on the 1st of September and runs until the 1st of December. So plenty of time to hop in and join. I am knitting obviously a large size for myself, and this takes 3 skeins of yarn. Particularly if you're smaller than me, there'll be plenty of time to hop on in and knit yourself a nice short sleeved sweater. While I'm chatting about cows, I guess I shall also mention I am running a whip along, so works in progress. Anything that you started before the 1st of September is eligible. There are threads over in the group to show off your finished objects and also to chatter along. So please do come on over and join the Ravelry group to join in that fun. I'm a little bit behind on my Ravelry communications at the moment. I think I'm up to date on Instagram and email and all that stuff, but I need to catch up on the group, and I know a couple of you out there have messaged me and I haven't yet replied, so please bear with me. Yeah. No excuses, just when I'm having difficult mental health weeks, kind of like the social media side of things is the first thing that kind of drops, and I catch up on one thing at a time. So I'm all up to date on YouTube and Instagram, I think, and email. It's just Ravelry left to catch up, but that is on my to-do list. Okay, so that's everything for finished objects, works in progress. I just wanted to quickly round out the video by chatting about my September goals and my upcoming October goals. So for September I had 8 things on my goal list. There were 4 projects to finish and 4 projects to start. I'm happy to say that I completed 6 of those 8 goals. The only things outstanding are the Canada shawl, and also I had on my list that I wanted to do a bit of Tunisian crochet. That didn't happen, and that's now going to go on the back burner for a little while. But I did manage to finish my opal socks, my Helix shawl, my drifter shawl. I started the dude, the Mount Pleasant, and my sock tube, so that was all good. I've set myself 7 goals for October, so we'll see how those go. Aim high and don't beat myself up if I don't achieve them. So my top priority is going to be knitting a pair of bed socks for James's grandma. She has requested those. I've got a lovely skein of alpaca yarn to knit those up for her. So that is number 1 on my goal list. I'd like to finish the Canada shawl. There's quite a lot of knitting left on that, but I just need to keep plugging away, and I'm sure I can do it. I'd like to finish my sock tube, my Knit 1000 grams sock tube, which I didn't show off this week. I'd also like to finish my Dams and Gin socks, which have been hanging around for way too long. Finish the first sock, needs to cast on and get cracking with the second sock. I'd like to finish that wall hanging. As I say, that should be fairly quick. Work on my Mount Pleasant. I'm not going to say finish my Mount Pleasant, but I would certainly like to finish the front and be on my way up the back before the end of the month. And then finally, I'd like to work on my Babette blanket, which is a crochet blanket that I've had on the go that hasn't seen any progress in the last couple of months. So I'm going to go back to that one and see what I can get done. If I manage to smash it and get through all of those goals, then my treat will be to cast on my Storm shawl with my hand spun yarn. So that's a good incentive. I think I'm going to keep this hanging around where I can see it as a bit of inspiration to get me knitting and crocheting through those other projects, so that this will be a nice reward at the end if I can. Also contemplating doing Vlogtober. It's the 1st of October tomorrow. I'm kind of on the fence at the moment. Not sure if I've got enough energy, but also I feel like it would give me a little bit of motivation to get out and do some things. So my videos aren't just the same every day. But yeah, I've done it for the last couple of years, so we shall see. I guess I will make my final decision when I wake up tomorrow. But if I do Vlogtober, then I will still be doing my weekly vlogs as well. So if you don't want to watch all of that sort of Vlogtober content, if I do it, then you won't miss out on anything. Okay, I need to wrap it up because I think this is going to be a long video. So yeah, all that remains is for me to wish you a wonderful week. I hope that you get to do some of the things that you enjoy, and until next time, great big woolly hugs to you all. Bye for now.